Hi, everyone. Happy International Women's Day, especially to my mother, my daughter, and my wife, my three bosses in this world. I want to thank the Board of Trade for the long-standing 18-month invitation that they have had for me to come here today. And I don't want you to feel bad about the time it took, because this is the first time I have spoken to either a Chamber of Commerce or a Board of Trade since I became leader of the Common Sense Conservatives 2 years ago. During that time, I've spoken at 110 shop floors and 5 union local facilities. And the reason why this is only my first Chamber or Board of Trade is nothing to do with my view on business. I love business. I love free enterprise. I love the people who risk their entire worth their entire family savings in order to start a business and build their dreams. Rather, the reason this is my first time speaking to a business association of this type is because my experience with the corporate lobbyists in Ottawa, the main groups there, have been that they have been utterly useless in advancing any common sense interests for the people on the ground. The corporate lobbyists in Ottawa are focused on getting lunches with ministers at the Rideau Club, or showing off their latest ESG brochure, or expecting that politicians are going to do things for them without actually convincing the people on the ground of the benefit to them. Today, we see interest rates at 5%, which in relative to recent time is very high. 2 full percentage points are directly attributable to government deficits, according to the Scotiabank and its recent study. A group of Canadian economists recently calculated that the only way to bring down interest rates is to bring down deficits that are driving them up. Deficits, by necessity, put upward pressure on interest rates because they create more demand without creating an equivalent supply. That demand then pushes up inflation, which forces the Bank of Canada to push back down in the opposite direction. Our politicians, our central bankers, and our financial system has debauched our currency under Justin Trudeau. We've created, our money supply. This is coins, bills, and bank deposits, or M2, has gone from $1.8 trillion to $2.4 trillion in the last 3 years. That's a 32% increase in the amount of cash in our economy, during which time our economy grew by 4%. My common sense plan to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime is a bottom-up free enterprise agenda, not a top-down state capitalism agenda. It is not about politicians and CEOs working together for their own interests. It is about unleashing the power of free enterprise so that workers and entrepreneurs and consumers can exchange the voluntary purchase of goods for services, goods for dollars, of investment for interest, and of work for wages. It is about putting people back in charge of their lives. And my message to corporate Canada is that when I'm Prime Minister, if you want any of your policy agenda pushed forward, you're going to have to convince not just me, but the people of Canada that it is good for them. For too long, corporate leaders have thought that their role is simply to write a policy statement and expect it to be implemented. Meanwhile, it has been left to workers on the ground and First Nations in their communities to fight for the projects that have been good for them, projects that are ultimately blocked by government gatekeepers, and leaving those workers and those communities on the sidelines. The government has to get out of the way for entrepreneurs and workers to grow the economy. We have a gatekeeper economy today, where we have the second slowest permits in the OECD. That means that capital has to sit on the sidelines for years while it waits to get a maybe out of the regulators. In many cases, this just means that capital doesn't sit on the sidelines, it leaves. We have 800 billion more Canadian dollars invested abroad than the world invests in Canada. So what's happening, there's this debate now about whether Canadian pension funds should be encouraged to invest more in Canada. Well, the question is, why aren't they doing it without government encouragement? The answer is because the governments have made this an uninvestable country where you can't get anything done. Whether it's like a small business that's trying to get a permit to expand by an extra 1,000 square feet, or a pipeline, or a mine, or a housing development, this is a nation in waiting. And so we need to release those incredible productive energies. We should set a goal, and I'm going to be bringing together the provinces and the municipalities to set this goal. Let's make this the fastest place in the OECD to get a building permit at all three levels of government. That would unleash production right across this country.